You're listening to the audio portion of Workshop Wednesdays. Workshop Wednesdays is a free live discussion about topics affecting accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. You can join the ABO group in Facebook to participate live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Just search for ABBO in Facebook. This podcast is brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where you will learn, grow, and build a thriving bookkeeping practice. We have hundreds of lessons with almost every aspect of the industry. Start your free month today at Schoolofbookkeeping.com. Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by Schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it is casual conversations for serious workflows. Because Rachel's going to be the star of the workshop today because she loves PayPal so much that she's willing to show us some things that and best practices when it comes to reconciling PayPal. We've been on this journey now for a few weeks about what are some of the best practices, why PayPal and Venmo are difficult. So you can always go back and take a look at those workshops. But going to get the meat and potatoes here. And Rachel's going to show us some of her tips and tricks when it comes to PayPal. What is it you're going to show us now? Because you barely showed up because you're so busy. We couldn't really have a chat about it.
Oh my gosh, my kids have 8th grade graduation this week, 5th grade graduation this week. We're trying to finish up some cleanups. Oh my gosh, it's all kinds of stuff. And so I wanted to put together some visuals because if you remember last week, we were talking about there's basically two elements. So there's PayPal Bank and then there's PayPal Clearing. So there's two different things.
And what's the use case for PayPal Clearing versus PayPal Bank?
Right. So PayPal Bank really just means I have PayPal connected to my bank feed. So in that situation, we're treating PayPal like a bank account. And so with that, there's going to be all kinds of different money movement. When you go and look on that PayPal statement, it's going to mimic everything that's in the bank feed. And there's going to be a lot of different things going on depending on what the client is doing in PayPal. There could be purchasing, they could be collecting payments, there could be transfers, there's fees going on, could be a PayPal loan. There's all kinds of different stuff going on in PayPal. And because we're connecting it to the bank feeds to pull in all of that information, that needs to be reconciled like a bank. We get the statement from PayPal. We reconcile it like a bank. And I have a slideshow that I've created to describe that process. Okay. And now for PayPal Clearing, that is only if they're collecting payments through PayPal. So they could be collecting payments on Shopify. They could be using PayPal as a way of collecting payments on WooCommerce, on WordPress, on anything. They could be using a PayPal like POS swiper or something like that and collecting payments that way out in person. It really doesn't matter. But if there is money in from PayPal, we really need to use a PayPal Clearing because we need to make sure that we're reconciling up what's posting to revenue via a sales receipt or something that's importing into QuickBooks and the little payments that are coming through the bank feed. So we want to match those two things up with a clearing account because what that really does is it proves that you're collecting all the money that you're saying you're going to collect. So that's a really important thing. So then I also have some visuals for that too.
All right. So as far as best practices for setting up, so if they are receiving money, receiving funds in, you would set up the PayPal bank account for basically every the statement that comes in. But then the clearing account would be a separate bank account or a sub account. How would you create that account?
I wouldn't do it as a sub account. I would just do it as an other current assets account. So It's going to be a clearing account on your balance sheet. We usually set those up as other current asset, but it would be just another clearing account like Shopify payments clearing or any of the other clearing accounts that you may use in order to reconcile payments to sales. So
Yeah.
that's why we use those clearing accounts so we can prove to our clients that the sales did come in that Shopify is saying, or your PayPal statement is saying, or whatever is saying. So we want to make sure that they're all there. And then we also want to make sure that all the corresponding payouts are coming in. So we use that clearing account to make sure that all those things are happening. Otherwise, who knows? It's just a big, I don't like big question marks. I like
No,
everything.
like exclamation points.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to share,
Yeah.
you
So
have some
I'm
slides to
gonna
share?
Yes. So I am going to start with just plain old regular PayPal Bank. Okay.
Okay.
Because I think a lot more people understand this. It's a little bit of a simpler concept. Can you see this?
We can now.
Okay.
Great.
Now,
Ready.
okay. So this is basically, we're just going to talk about PayPal Bank and I always call it PayPal Bank. And I do that because it's in the bank feed. So I do it just to avoid confusion. I just call it PayPal Bank. So when connected to bank feed. Okay, we're going to go through the steps to reconcile PayPal and QuickBooks Online. But before that, we have to import the transactions in, and we're not going to match or resolve discrepancies. I skipped over that because we don't really need. Okay.
But the bank feeds would come in and they should feasibly match
Yeah,
from,
there's a lot of
that way.
things. It can get complex. There's a lot of things that we want to set up for a match, but there's things that we don't. So I'm just gonna go through this and I'll show you. So anyway, where this PayPal bank import, though, I will say is extremely important because we want to make sure that we're pulling in all of the things in PayPal. And so it can be a little bit deceiving because people sometimes think there's just these things that are coming into PayPal, but no, there's a lot of different things that are involved. And at the end of the day, when you go into PayPal and you look at a PayPal statement, it's going to have all kinds of different things. You want to make sure that all of those things are coming into your PayPal feed. Okay. So the first step that we need to do is we need to connect PayPal to QuickBooks Online. So this is literally step by step. So sign into QuickBooks, navigate to the left-hand navigation, click on transactions, select bank transactions, and that's going to bring you to the bank feed menu. Then we're going to connect an account just like we're going to connect a bank account. And then we're going to search for and select connect to PayPal. Now, when in a search bar, if you type in PayPal and you select it from the list of available financial institutions, I want you to know there is PayPal and there is Connect to PayPal. I typically use Connect to PayPal. Now, there is a big difference between the two. And I'm not going to get into the nuance of what one does over the other because sometimes you do want regular PayPal and sometimes you want Connect to PayPal. Most of the time, I want the functions that are in Connect to PayPal. Okay. So then you are going to enter your PayPal login credentials. Now, oftentimes, unless your client has made you a user, you may have to have them log into PayPal. And however you do it with your client, maybe you Zoom with them and watch them share their screen and they log into PayPal and connect it. However you guys do that. My clients often give me a PayPal login so then I'm able to do it on my own. They create a user for me and then I go in and do it. So then
Got it.
we're going to hit yes, and then that's
Have,
going to
have
authorize
you
it.
had any challenges with them creating a login for you with the stability of the connection or something not working right?
No, I usually tell them, make sure you give me all the permissions that I need and It usually works out just fine. Or a lot of times I will Zoom with them and have them. Or I also like we have some training videos and I'll often send them a video and it just shows them how to do it specifically to connect it on their own. Okay, so now so that's been connected, then it's going to prompt you to import your transaction. So connect PayPal like you would a bank or a credit card. In the account type, select bank. It's going to prompt you. Now, if you already have, sometimes people connect it and then disconnect it and then reconnect it. In that situation, you want to select the bank account that's already been created. Otherwise, if you create a new bank, it'll call it PayPal 2, PayPal Bank 2 or PayPal Bank 3. And I've learned my lesson with that because I've disconnected the connection and reconnected it and disconnected it and reconnected it. We really don't wanna do that. We just wanna connect it correct right off the get-go, and so in that situation, select a bank account, and then it'll prompt you to create the actual account, and you could just call it PayPal Bank. It will prompt you to select a date of import. I typically choose the first day of the year. If I know it's a new PayPal connection for them or if it's a new client, and they're setting up their stuff new. I'll usually select the first day of the year. Now, if I'm doing a cleanup and I have to go back a few years, PayPal, I think Connect to PayPal allows you to go back 18 months
Sounds
with
about right.
the import tool. So I'll go back as far as I can. Before that, you may have to import from CSV. And that's another topic for another day. Okay, so once the connection is established, it'll automatically import them all into your bank feeds. It's going to take a while. Unlike I find a bank account like Chase or something like that, that usually pulls it in very quickly. PayPal takes a lot longer. So just set it, go do something else and come and maybe check back a couple hours later. It takes a while to pull all the PayPal transactions, especially if you're going up to 18. Um, Okay, so then your whole process can become much easier because now you have your stuff sitting in the bank feeds and you can start categorizing all the stuff. Okay, so automating this process, you save a lot of time, your data is more accurate, you're reducing manual effort, and you have improved efficiency. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do we reconcile the account in PayPal. So I'm not really going to get into what I need to do with payouts that are coming in just yet. I'm going to discuss that when we get to the PayPal payment clearing reconciliation. For
Got it.
now, we're just going to magically assume that we have put all the stuff in all the right place. With expenses, and you'll remember last week we talked about the pulling of something from one account to PayPal. That's just a transfer, but you'll see a secondary transaction. That's the actual expense. And by the way, when you look at a PayPal statement, that's what you'll see. You'll see a added funds from bank. That's the transfer. And then on the PayPal statement, you'll see expense paid to blah, blah, blah. Expense. So you're seeing on the statement the exact same thing that you're seeing in your bank feeds. And it's not going to let you down. So now when you go into pay, I think you go to financial stuff at the very top. I think it's activity. And then you go into activity and then you can see, look, I always go into old view. I don't like new view. Maybe if I spent the 10 minutes it would take me to see what new view does, but I usually always default to old view. So then you can go in and you can find your monthly PayPal statement. And then like we talked about next week, unlike a clearing account, PayPal, just like a bank, it's going to give you a monthly statement and it's going to give you an ending balance. So you do need to go in and you need to pull that statement. You're going to click on this thing for monthly and you can download your statement into a PDF. Here, you can see right here for May, you can download it as a PDF, which is what we usually do because guess what? We always attach that PDF statement to Reconciling PayPal Bank, just like we would a regular bank, because in QuickBooks Online, it allows you to do that. Now, you can also download it into a CSV if ever you need to get further detail, but usually the PDF is enough. Okay, so now reconcile to your ending available balance. This one is more complex. This one, I just wanted to show you how complex the key
Yeah, I think this is partly why PayPal is such a puzzlement for a lot of people is because I don't know if you can zoom in to show the top portion, but the different
Yeah.
categories of what PayPal puts things in, I think is part of the quagmire of
Yeah.
PayPal. Can you,
Yeah.
what does it say? What does it say for those that don't have a microscope or telescope to see? What is it that you see there at the top?
Yeah. So this is basically now, can I zoom in? No, I can't because I only have this restream thing at the very
Oh,
top
gotcha.
of it, and I don't have access to that zoom in thing.
Well,
Uh, so
command
let
plus
me
command plus will is the
oh,
keyboard shortcut.
okay, hold on.
Your Mac, assuming that it's active.
It it won't do it. It
Oh, well,
won't do it.
never mind.
I'm now at 500% and it won't do it.
Okay.
Okay. But so anyway, hopefully you could see it a little bit. But anyway, this is basically listing out all of the things. Okay. So our beginning available balance. Now, just pretend we don't have foreign on here because this is essentially it needs its own spot on the balance sheet. In this situation, I'm a horrible person because I forgot to convert these. Usually, what I do is I convert all these foreign amounts into US amounts by the end of the month. So we never have these foreign. And basically, what this means is this is a Shopify client. So this client uses Shopify markets and they sell all over the world. So they collect, and so they use PayPal as a means of collecting payments. And in this situation, they sell anywhere they accept euro, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar. I know they also typically have Singapore dollar. They have all kinds of stuff on here, but this is only showing these amounts here because I forgot to convert these at the end of the month. Oh, here's the British pound. Here's Singapore dollar right there. Oh, so you can see right here, I actually was good and I converted Singapore, but guess what? I went and converted these at the end of the month on maybe the 30th, and then I forgot to go in on the final day and convert these. Or sorry,
So
Amy.
in the grand scheme of things, these should be converted to USD or the
Yeah.
home currency before
Yes.
going through this process.
Yes. And in this situation, my client has given me full access to do everything because they're busy. I go in and I convert these to US dollar at the end of the month. So that way we only have an amount in here. Now, here, these are just all the things. We started with this balance at the end of the month when in April we reconciled to 23,450,18. They received 75,846.71 worth of payments, customers on their Shopify website paying. They made purchases of 4,307.94. And remember I told you last week, I don't like it when they make purchases. This is why,
Right.
because now we've got money in, money out. It's annoying.
And
Um,
also these terms are confusing, right? Because
yes.
purchases could be money in versus money out, depending on uh, how you're fitting in or how they're
Yes.
talking about how your client might be talking about it. Because they may say somebody made a purchase on my website, and then you're looking at it in this purchases dollar amount,
Yeah.
and now we're like, head
It can get
explode.
very confusing. So in this situation, payments received is always the payments for products sold that they
Yeah,
are taking.
we need a PayPal glossary. That's what we really need.
Yeah. Good idea. And now you can see here it's positive. So it means that it's
Hmm.
payments that they have collected on their website. But yes, that's a really good idea. Now, payments, and oh, we're using the same word payment, but here it says. So this means that they purchase stuff. And now I've told this client before a million times, maybe let's not use PayPal for buying stuff, but I think they still have a few things on recurring that they still buy.
Mm.
Withdrawals and debits are um, withdrawals to their bank account. So basically, what they did is they went into PayPal and they said, PayPal, move this money to my checking account.
Yeah,
That's the
you were calling it last week the sweep. So making
yeah.
that sweep to my bank account.
Yes. So deposits and credits are, I don't know, maybe they,
Is there anything in there?
yeah, there's 1939. Maybe they received some kind of deposit from, maybe they made a return on a purchase they made. So that's money back in. Now here's money out. This is fees, PayPal fees, the fees on all of their payout. Chargeback, zero, thank goodness. Transfers are transfers from this one. I can't remember. I'll have to dig into it a little more. It's just escaping me at the
But
top of my head.
this is illustrating why PayPal is so convoluted.
Yeah,
What is a withdrawal and a debit versus a purchase or a payment sent, right?
yeah,
Where does it all fit
yeah.
into
So
that PayPal
actually, now I
categorization?
remember. Now I remember. So the withdrawals and debits are the money going out of their PayPal account into their checking account. The transfers are actually, you see how it's a positive? The transfers are actually coming from a checking account into the PayPal account. So in that situation, it's some kind of pull that they're transferring that way. So anyway, it can be very confusing. Now, here you can see releases and withheld. This is purchases they're making. And oh, okay. No,
You stumped the band.
yeah, no. So transfers, I think, are actually the purchases they're making because the transfers are going, no, because it's money in. Anyway, okay, we'll get this all worked out. This is probably the most complex
Well,
one that you can get. But
Jamie is at the
Jamie
rescue.
will
The
know.
transfer is the conversion from the foreign money.
Okay. Yeah. So this one has to do with foreign conversions. Okay. So
And
that
you
one,
picked like the worst possible scenario.
yeah,
But
this
they're
one,
doing all these things and they're using multi-currency
yeah,
as
because you
well.
can see, look, that and that adds up to that. So it's transferring the foreign
That's a lot of that.
into US. So that's the transfers you're going to see here. Here are the deposits and credits, which are some kind of money back in. The payments sent are their purchases. The withdrawals and debits are going from PayPal into their checking account. The releases and the withheld have to do with the transferring from foreign to US and the purchases they're making. Those three things, those two things always involve a release and a withheld. And look at this. You can see, remember how I said the releases and the withhelds typically net to zero? In this
Mhm.
case, they do not. We have more withheld
Of course.
than release. So the difference of these two is going to be a reconciling item. So that's going to be a difference in your PayPal reconciliation. So I don't want to spend too much time on this one because this one, you guys are probably not going to get something this complex.
But this is like
So
the worst case scenario
yeah, I just wanted to
for
show.
PayPal. So
Yeah, and I
if you're
just
not
wanted to
dealing
show
with
this.
all of this, count your blessings.
Yeah, I just wanted to show this one so you could see all of these different things that could be here. And basically, starting with the balance, all of the things that are happening. And now here we have our ending balance. Now, why do we even have an ending balance? Look at this one. This one is simple, no balance at the end of the month, but there's certainly activity. So you tell me why there's no activity. Why is there a zero available and ending balance?
Because at the end of the period, all of that swept into their bank
Yeah,
account. And so there is no balance into the PayPal bank, right?
exactly. So this client does where they sweep it daily. So at the end of the month, it's always at 0. So that means we reconcile to 0. Now, in this situation, client doesn't sweep everything at the end of the month. I think they have a 2-week where it's transferred maybe every 2 weeks or something, or maybe it's every day, but maybe this was what was caught at night. I honestly don't remember. But so we have to reconcile to that, which is the pain. But in this situation, we're reconciling to 0. So this is really what you want, because then it's pretty simple. You just put in 0 here that you're reconciling to, and you hit reconcile. Then we get to this, and you can see here are all of the things. We've got the expenses. In this situation, this client is making expenses in PayPal. And look what I want you to see right here. This is the money movement from Chase to PayPal. Okay. So it's pulling it. So it's coming into PayPal with a deposit, and it's going out as an expense to Google. Okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Same with this, pulling it in from Chase, making the expense, pulling it in from Chase, making the expense. Again, pulling it in, expense, pulling it in, expense.
Question: do you use rules from the checking account to force that transaction to transfer into the PayPal
No,
account?
no.
Or
You could, but I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because it's also coming into the Chase account. So those two are finding each other, and it's creating a match. So in that situation, in the Chase account, it'll look over to PayPal, it'll look over there and go, hey, and it'll go, I see
you
you.
know you
I'm matching it. So
yeah.
on the Chase side, match. And then if you then go over to PayPal, you'll see it disappear, because that's now what the bank feed does. It'll auto match on the one side, and then it clears it out on the PayPal side. So it knows, puts it on the books. So you don't really have to create a rule. Now, what
Because the rules could actually conflict with this whole process,
yes.
and that's why you want to not acknowledge a rule that always puts it in there, because again, it's going to be on who talks to it first. Is it the bank? Is it QuickBooks? Is the rule and a higher priority? Then I'm just going to do what I'm told, and now you've got duplicated transfers in there,
Yeah.
and that makes a challenge.
Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. And then now, I suppose you could do a rule for just the expense part. And it could know for Google, we're always going to put it to software and apps,
Mm.
possibly. And in this situation, I can't really see what that is, or we would know Apple is always going to software now. So maybe on the see how it says payment. Now in this situation, we don't mean payment in, we mean payment.
Exactly. Now we're getting we're
Yeah.
getting the flip flop
Yeah.
of
And I think
payments.
Wix online monkeys around with the terminology too much. Now they've made it confusing and
Yeah, I mean, and
right.
it's just in the grand scheme of things, terms are nebulous, right? Like the word deposit, right? Could be a bank deposit, it could be a customer deposit, invoice could be customers or vendors. It's just really what
Yeah.
perspective you're talking about. But then there is the functionality terminology that we're dealing with, and some of them will use the same terminology, like account,
Yeah.
input account, bank account, your chart of accounts.
Even the word terms, like you just said.
Yeah.
Terms has two different meanings in accounting. Anyway, terms like it's called this, or terms like we're going to extend you 15-day term. So it can be
Right.
super duper confusing. But anyway, so now I want you to notice on this one, are we seeing any payout?
Well,
So in this situation, all the client is doing is purchasing stuff with a PayPal account. That's all. Now, actually, I will tell you, he does collect payments via PayPal. There are just not any in this month. So you can see what's being brought in to PayPal is just a pull from Chase. That's it. And so here the function in QuickBooks is a transfer, transferring from Chase to PayPal. So that's all you're going to see on the deposit side. Now, if this was a really heavy duty PayPal account with lots and lots of stuff, then we would see loan, we would see a payout that would also be called a transfer. There'd be all kinds of different things in here on the deposit side and all kinds of different things here on the payment side. But really, we're only dealing with this guy has a few recurring purchases going on in PayPal. That's all. Now, if they were large purchases here in PayPal, you know what else we would see here is those holds and releases. And in those situations, we have to select the right and the left, right and the left, the right and the left.
You only see holds when they're purchases. And is it
Yeah.
only a certain dollar amount or
Yeah,
is it
they're
all
usually
the time?
larger purchases. You can see like for a $14.17. And oftentimes the bank feed will smartly exclude those holds. I think it knows if they net to zero. And then other times it won't. Now that may have to do with connect to PayPal or regular PayPal. I don't know. But oftentimes I don't see them, but a lot of times I do. And so in this situation, we're not seeing them. If they're really large purchases, typically you will see in the bank feed the hold release. And then, like I said, if with that other really busy one, we would select both sides, and then there might be two or three that didn't clear out and that we might need to exclude those to reconcile and they'd be uncleared for the next month, something like
Seeing that she never sees holds or releases in the bank feed.
in the bank feed. Yeah. So that's probably, I'm guessing, Jamie, it's probably because the connect to PayPal is maybe the smarter one and it knows to throw those out. I feel like when I was still using regular PayPal, the connector app, I feel like I used to see those a lot. So maybe that could be it. I don't know. Okay, so now we reconcile and we're reconciling with a $0 difference. Woo, we reconcile. Yay. So that way we finish. So that's doing PayPal Bank. And now I picked this one because I really wanted to show kind of the simplicity of it. And then we can certainly down the road get more into the weeds with the way more complex PayPal bank account. I don't know.
When they're just using PayPal to make purchases, it essentially is its own clearing account because you'll see this expense being paid out of PayPal and then a pool to fund the PayPal balance. And they basically essentially wash themselves out.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge is making sure that you don't have your technology conflicting with each other by setting up rules for the checking account or the funding account. And then your PayPal bank feed doing essentially the same thing. So you just
Yeah.
don't want to I mean, you do want to make sure that you're not. That was far too many
Yeah.
negatives in that sentence. But I think you get the idea that you don't want to have your bank feeds conflicting with each other so that you have duplicates in the PayPal
Exactly.
account because you're not going to
Exactly. And then
reconcile it.
one thing that kind of give it away is if, let's say, you've got a couple extra things in here because somehow it duplicated, it won't typically have a little green box. And so this is saying these have all come in through the bank fees accurately. So oftentimes, if you have, let's say you have 1417 in there twice, it's because you didn't match it on the Chase side, you added it, right? So it can be in there twice then because it did it on the PayPal side and then it did it again on the Chase side. So that's why you really want to be careful about adding, not matching. Now, like you said, yes, technically, you could think of it like a clearing account. I usually don't use that terminology with
Right. Because you actually have a PayPal clearing account
yeah, and
for just
so
that purpose.
yeah, and you can see how confusing it can be, and I just don't like to do that because then we get really confused.
Into the weeds.
What- Oh, Cinderella Jamie says I should have reconciled the other one for her. Okay, so now I'm gonna share my entire screen. And now I'm going to go to, can you see this?
Not yet.
This, what? Okay, you can't see anything. Oh, okay.
you typically have to acknowledge something.
Here we go. Okay.
Here it comes.
Now, can you see this?
Uh, yes, I can see
The
this.
PayPal bank fee did not add. Okay. Okay. So now what I want you guys to see is this is actually what we're looking at when we're looking at the PayPal bank fee. Okay. So now the other scenario that we just looked at was we're not really dealing with payout, right? Remember in that other reconciliation screen that we literally just saw, it was just purchasing and transferring from the other account. Purchase, transfer, purchase, transfer, purchase, transfer. Now, in this situation, what we're seeing in the bank feed are payout. And what I mean by payout is this is Shopify. So this client selling something on Shopify in which they are using PayPal as a payment method. So in this situation, the client received 2 payments on 5/9. Okay. Payment came in. And by the way, this is the PayPal Connect function behind this one. And it grouped this like this and makes a net with a fee underneath it to gross it up to $37.50. So same with this one. The net is $24.54.61, but with a fee added, it's $24.53.80. Now, here we add these.
Apparently not, because you've got a big red sign there that says help.
Yeah. So we do not. Now, the client isn't selling on some kind of platform, or they're literally just maybe going out to a farmer's market and they're swiping payments with the PayPal, whatever, or they're keying them in. And it's coming in through the bank feed, but nothing else is posting an original sale. Nothing. You're not using any connector. You're not connecting to Shopify in any way. Nothing. Then you can add these, because in that situation, we will add the gross sale. And we talked about last week, that's really important because we need to account for the gross up sale, because the 3618.63 is just the payout. The gross sale is $37.50. And in this situation, the gross sale is $25.43.88 less the fee, making the net deposit $24.54.61. So in that case, yes, we can add. And in that situation, it'll create a sales receipt and it'll post the grossed up sale to the P&L, and it will offset the the payout to undeposited funds or something. Okay. So now, and then when you actually do transfer that money over into your checking account, then that wipes out undeposited. I'm not going to get into that too much because we don't have any clients that do that. Most of the time, our clients are selling on some kind of platform and they're using PayPal as a payment method. And now we're going to see that more and more because now there's a zillion different ways to sell things online. And we talked about last week, we want the clients to implement all these payment methods because it's a way to get their money. So in this situation, we do not want to add, because if we add, it will create a sales receipt and that'll duplicate our revenue. And so this is what we clean up 95% of the time. It's very confusing because these things come into the bank feed, and business owners and oftentimes other bookkeepers, they'll just go add, not realizing that these sales are already being posted. Maybe you're using Bookkeep, maybe you're using Cinder, maybe you're using WeIntegrate, maybe you're using the One SaaS connector from QuickBooks, but this is already being posted. And so those sales are already on your P&L. This is just the payment coming through. So in this situation, I have already set up a sales receipts to be posted through Cinder with the offset to PayPal clearing, meaning it's payments to be expected, like I explained last week. So on the debit side, so credit always increases revenue. So in a sales receipt, it's going to credit revenue and it's going to debit the clearing. And the debit of the clearing means payment to be expected. So then when this payout comes in, we debit PayPal cash, the money comes into PayPal, and we credit the clearing, it clears out the clearing, and then we reconcile to zero. So that's the most complex part. A lot of people need a bit to understand that concept. But the only way that will work is if we go in, you have to open this thing up. And this is just a screenshot. So I wasn't able to put together all the things. But instead of adding, you open this thing up and then you select deposits and then you select the account. You deposit it to PayPal Payments Clearing. That is what you. So then when we get to this, can you guys see this?
Yes.
So this is my actual PayPal Payments Clearing account. So you can see this is that sales receipt that we literally, no, sorry. This is the sales, sorry. This is the sales receipt that was created by Cinder. So you see all these like memos. This is the automation tool creating all this coding. So sales receipt posted by Cinder and hold on. I want to make sure I find the exact one that's clearing this out. I don't think I selected the entire screenshot. Okay, okay. So it's this one and this one. Okay, so here's the sales receipt created by Cinder. It's a little confusing because the deposit is underneath it. I don't really love that. But it would make more sense if the sales receipt was first and then the deposit came in and cleared it out.
Yeah.
But
And this is again why it's so confusing, because even though the reality is this was deposited to PayPal, it's showing here as a payment on the register.
Mhm.
So it's very forth
it's
between
so
the
confusing.
minuses when it comes to that.
That's why I typically don't look at these. I don't because I've been doing debits and credits for a million years. I
Very Wizard of Oz of you.
this
Don't
is
mind that man behind the curtain.
yeah, this was QuickBooks throwing in their terminology, that and that. I would almost prefer that they just leave it as credit debit because that's the way I know it. But they're also trying to appeal to people that maybe deposit and payment make more sense to them, which I get. So here's our running balance. So basically, this is it. Okay. Here we have, oh, actually, that one matches that. So that's why we have a cleared out balance of zero. Here's the sale. Sale is posted by Cinder. Here is what we deposited out of the bank fees. Now, what would happen if I hit add?
If you add, then it would enter in the sales receipt into
Yeah,
PayPal
exactly. It would have
and account for the fee too.
Yes. So what I would have done is I would have duplicated the sales receipt. So in the bank feed, if I would have hit add
Well, hello
right
there.
here.
Somebody's peering over your background image. No, the on your screen when you move.
Okay. Now, if we would have hit add right here, then we would see right here, the automation tool posted that. We would have added an additional sales receipt of $37.50, and that would have duplicated our income by a factor of 2. And that's wildly inaccurate. So we really have to be careful when we're using automation tools to post all these sales receipts. Now, in this situation, this is a really low volume. There's not a ton of sales receipt posting. But in some situations, you have a ton of sales receipt posting. So you really need to rely on the automation tool posting all these sales receipts. Now, we've had clients come to us saying, we don't know what we're doing. We're literally just looking at our Shopify screen and we're just manually entering sales receipt. And so in that situation, we will put them on an automation tool because that means that it'll post it for them. So that's what we want. We want the automation tool posting it for them here. And then when it comes through the bank feed, we deposit it to the clearing, and that'll give us a net of 0. So in this situation, here we go. Here we have right here, we have the sales receipt. And then here we have the deposit. And then we also have it separating out the tax. And so we've got that and that clears out the 2543.88. Okay. Now, and also we're seeing the same thing here. Sales receipt, deposit to clearing for 1850. Now this 2263, the one that belongs to it is down here. You can't see it. But see, when you're doing this properly, sale, payment, sale, payment, sale, payment. The concept is we're posting the sale, and the offset is the clearing. We're posting the payment, the offset is the clearing. So we're clearing out the clearing. Now, you can see we always want a net of 0. So how easy is this to reconcile?
Well, you just put in your ending balance of 0, and
Yeah.
as long as you get it to 0, then
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah. In theory, this should be super duper duper easy to reconcile because let's pretend this is 531, and then we've posted our sales, posted our payment, posted our sales through the automation, posted our payments through the bank feed, posted our sales through automation, posted our payments through the bank feed. We should always have a running clearing of 0. So
When you actually do this, do you use anything from the statement to help with that, or do you
never.
just look for it to get back to 0?
Yeah, never. I never go to the statement for this because we're not dealing with all the other junk. We're only dealing with posting the original sale, depositing the payment from the PayPal bank. This is the only thing you're putting in PayPal payments clearing from the PayPal bank. Everything else doesn't belong in PayPal payments clearing. That's it. So in this situation, I can just hit reconcile. And it's just going to go to 0. I know I'm never going to have a problem. Now, let's say that it's 531 and let's say it's got a balance of $500. And I can look at this logically and go, oh, you know what? My payout, the deposit, I'm not going to see that maybe until the second day of the month because maybe it's a weekend, right? And that payout isn't going to come until Monday. So in that situation, in the reconciliation screen, you could always extend your date out to the second to grab that last payout because that might not be perfectly 0 on the 31st. So we've always got things in transit, but a simpler activity, PayPal is often, it'll clear perfectly out to 0 at the end of the month. And then if you've got a ton of activity, a ton of payouts coming through PayPal, it's very likely that you will not be at 0 at the end of them because you're probably going to have things crossing at the end of them. So that's when you get into more complexity. But if your client is really only accepting, this client is only accepting, I don't know, maybe one, two, three, four. Let's pretend this is 531. Let's say there was only 4 sales receipts from Shopify in which they paid with PayPal. Then it's not going to be super complex. We're only going to expect 4 payouts. You wouldn't have more payouts if you only have 4 sales receipts. So then when you're in your reconciliation screen, if you have a whole bunch more in there, but you only have 4 sales receipts, then you've made a mistake.
In addition to our PayPal glossary, we need a PayPal flowchart. Like if they
Yeah.
are using a deposit, then you're going to do this, and everything will net back down to 0. The more complex or complicated they have with the PayPal setup, we're in a vortex.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm in a hunch. Yeah. So that's the thing is that Because I know there's a lot of people that are starting to get a lot of Shopify clients and they're getting into e-commerce and they're getting into all these things and it's unfamiliar territory for them. And sometimes, oh yeah, Jamie's saying sometimes the automation doesn't, yeah, there's all kinds of different wacky things that can happen. And really the expert isn't an expert on how to reconcile. The expert is how to troubleshoot. That's what the expert does. It's troubleshooting. And Dan, you and I are always troubleshooting, right? We're always like, oh my God,
Right.
it turns
Like,
out this can't do
how did
this. And
this
now,
guy how
yeah,
did this guy get here? And
yeah,
typically that's where things get wonky. And that's the technical term for it, is that when they've got automation coming in from or something like that, and then they've got PayPal, connect to PayPal coming in, and maybe they're doing their ad instead of the match or the deposit to, as you illustrated there. And now they've got this PayPal bank account being the recipient of multiple automations. And
yeah,
now it comes to this point where it's just, how did it get here? It's a talking
yeah.
heads
And
song, right?
sometimes when I say PayPal clearing, people think of PayPal Bank. And so
Yeah.
there's just a lot of confusion in a lot of that stuff. And now I like it when it's multiple channels and they've got lots of different PayPals. It's really complex and I really love untangling that. But imagine they're selling on Shopify with multiple payment methods, Shopify POS, Shop Pay, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, whatever, all these things. Guess what? Oh, TikTok, Amazon, Instagram, whatever. Some of the I was training a client yesterday. I was explaining to her some of the things come into Shopify Payments Clearing, so you don't need to break that out into a different clearing account. Yay! But then some things you need its own clearing account, like PayPal. Those payouts are not included and really in Shopify Payments Clearing. And really, guess why this is complex? It's when your dang client is making purchases in PayPal. Then you've got all that money in, money out, money in, money out, money in, money out, and it causes way more transfers, way more pull from your checking account. These clients think, oh, I'm just going to use PayPal. It's way, way easier for my accountant, way more complex. And so we have to make sure that like for people that are learning, the PayPal adds more complexity. The more activity in PayPal, the more polls, the more it's going to confuse you. So it's better to get on board with this and learn right away that remember last week I said, if you can, get your client to not make purchases on PayPal. That way we're only dealing with payout.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to show us? I think people's heads are full based off
Yeah.
of
I mean, this will
this
be a
is
good
this is
one
this
to,
this is a Thanksgiving meal of workshop.
yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
ready to
this will be a good one
push away
to
from the table and take a nap.
Yeah, this will be a good one to go back and watch again. But honestly, we probably should have just been dealing with reconciling PayPal Bank, one session, PayPal Payments Clearing, another session, because again, PayPal Payments Clearing is part of PayPal Bank, but we got to isolate it because the sales receipts are posting through another mechanism. And it can get really convoluted. But we specialize in this stuff and nobody ever wants to do it. Give it to us. We'll do it.
Now, yeah, and I'm curious about Jeff Weathers because he was very concerned or really curious about how we were going to show this. He has not talked at all during this
Yeah.
entire. Either he was feverishly taking notes, or he's passed out
Yeah.
corner in a fetal position.
Oh, yeah.
So,
See, Jamie's like
Jeff,
me.
if you're
Jamie
still
and I
with
are
us,
like, Jamie and I are like one and the same. We both like doing it. Jeff probably peaced out. He's probably, oh my gosh, like I can't think about this. But again, it's really for the complex. And we're dealing with automation tools. We're dealing with not creating all the things in QuickBooks, which a lot of traditional QuickBooks bookkeepers create the things in QuickBooks. They create an invoice. They create a thing. My firm, we deal with dumping a lot of data into QuickBooks. So we have to untangle it somehow. And that the wonderful thing about that, and then I have to go, is that we can use QuickBooks Online for the very, very complex because it's now become a ledger and we're just dumping data in. So it's really cool. It's limitless.
But as long as you have those predefined workflows and you have it set up the way that you need it to do that, and you have a client that's trainable and not to do some extra crazy stuff, then the stars align and you're able to utilize these workflows
Yep.
to their degree that you want them to. So thank you, Rachel, for putting in all that legwork there. And those that have joined us, or if you're watching this later, we'll have chapter marks on the YouTube video so that you can just pop back and forth and rewatch the sections that you need a little relearning on. Jeff, when you wake up from your stupor, you can watch it later. We'll continue down some of these topics in the future workshops. We are going to take a break in a couple weeks because both Rachel and myself will be at Scaling New Heights. So we'll have, and Jamie, and we'll have a replay
Jeff.
during that time period. And Jeff, yes, so nobody's going to be here for the workshop. So appreciate you joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday.